everyone, and welcome to the American Scouser podcast. Another Monday night. We are back in action. All three of us back here. I'm your host, as always, Timuchin here in Chicago, where it's just freaking ridiculous. Like, I don't think we had this much rain as much as we did like all spring while we had over the last few weeks. And you would think every time it rains, you would just go outside and it would be nice and not much humidity anymore and stuff like that. And I go out there, it's like, welcome to the jungle, is all I can think of. It is nasty as hell. But what are you going to do? It is end of July, I guess. Gally, how was it in your neighborhood?
Blah. It was hot. Hot, like 88 at like 6 this morning and like 96 at one point today. Like hottest day we've had in a while. So not great by any means, but hanging in there. It's not raining, so I guess it's better than that.
Well, I mean, it doesn't improve anything or make anything worse, except the grass grows like crazy. Pickler's stash is getting constant rain because that thing is growing like crazy. What's happening?
Hey, man, I trimmed it up. It's, I don't know. It's been a day, dude. I think I probably look like it's been a day. I feel like it's been a day. And I feel like I'm on the last mile of a marathon that I wasn't meant to run.
It has been a day, but okay, let's start the show. We're going to get to trivia, but I do want to start with a PSA announcement for everybody out there because Tony is in the comments. By the way, everybody is already jumping on board. Welcome aboard. If you're watching us on YouTube right now, hit that thumbs up, and then let's get some other people so they can take advantage of this PSA I'm about to give you. Because we're having, if you're not on a Discord channel, we talk about all kinds of crazy stuff, including there's a channel where it's mostly reserved for watching whatever the heck Shelton is smoking. But
Right.
occasionally we get into some different like food conversations. But I do want to make a PSA. If you guys ever find yourself in a Turkish restaurant or a place that calls itself a Turkish restaurant, you look and you see pizzas on the menu. That's not lahmacun. Like there's gyro meat on a pizza and some kind of a crappy. I'm so irate having seen that menu, and especially because Sir Z said he went to a Turkish joint and stuff. Get the hell out of there. You are not in a Turkish restaurant if you see that shit. Okay. Yes, they really got me going. Almost late to the podcast because of this, because I almost had a nervous breakdown just looking at that freaking menu. I mean, I don't even want to pull it up. One thing is, we just talked about it this morning with Matush about, different people cooking other people's cuisines and stuff like that. And what kind of a self-respecting Turkish guy puts gyro meat on a pizza and then serves it? Okay, let's not get going. Let me piss you guys off instead. Let's do some trivia. What goes around comes around. I'll have it for you guys. Okay, here we go.
What will anger Timuchin? Euro meat on a pizza. I got it right.
If there's a pizza, but don't get me started. Okay, here we go. What is the greatest number of consecutive matches across all competitions, Bickler, where Liverpool did not concede a goal, and in what stadium did that streak end? Okay, triple bonus points if you get the last one, I guess, but let's go with the streak.
What the hell?
This actually came up recently because we had a similar streak, if I recall this right. But I don't know if it was this season or last season. I can't remember that part. It could have been early in the season where we were doing the slot special of 2-0s constantly. Bickler, shoot it. How many matches? Let's get that guess first.
Well, why don't you just repeat the question for our listeners? Because I'm sure a lot of them missed it.
For our listeners or for you, what is the greatest number of consecutive matches across all competitions where Liverpool did not concede a goal? And in what stadium did that streak end?
Consecutive matches without conceding. I'm going to go, I don't know.
Serzi says 11 matches, but then again, Serzi eats pizza with gyro meat on it. So I don't know how much credibility we can give this guy.
Seems, I don't know. I'll go with 7. I don't know.
Daly?
I'll go 9.
Google is right. Not Sir Z, but Google is correct. 11 matches, October 29th to December 15th of 2005. 21 goals scored, 0 conceded, 9-2. Here's the tricky parts. 13 matches, and Goodison says no. Close though, 11. Where did it end? Yeah, this is almost impossible. It's as worse as putting gyro on a pizza. If you guys get this right, it's gonna be like
Where?
Obviously, it's somewhere in Europe, not even somewhere in England.
that's why. If you guys get this,
Is it at like Red Star Belgrade or somewhere crazy? Like I just threw out like the first random ass place I could think they play.
it is
Yeah.
kind of off the wall, right? That it's actually, and I'm assuming this is how this question came about. It's at the Yokohama International Stadium.
Oh god damn it!
I'm assuming that's how we came across this question. Again, Sao Paulo in the World Club Championship, the one we referenced
We
maybe
lost
like a month or so ago,
1-0.
losing 1-0. That was the other
BJ.
final that we were in.
BJ, get healthy and stop coming up with these types of questions, man. I love you, but Jesus, dude.
You think this is
Man,
bad?
that's some brutal shit.
BJ is working on 24 questions for the 24-hour podathon over there. So we're going to have a lot
Good
of
thing
fun
we
on
only
that
do
one.
one question every time we go on air. So therefore, it's 23 extra questions for the next 23 years. Man.
Yeah, you do that, Sir Z. But yeah, if you're joining
Oh.
us, a lot of people joining on here right now. Hit that thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed, definitely subscribe. We'll talk a lot about Liverpool stuff. Then I do want to get to the podathon too, because there's a lot of happening in the works over there. In the background, as we speak, Polish Prince is actually putting together the silent auction, adding all the items. And if you were on air this morning with his internet connection, hopefully he'll get it done in time for the podathon to start with this great Wi-Fi connection. But let's get to Liverpool. Bickler. We talked about this before. Diaz, this is, I think, semi-official pending medical still, correct? He has not done the medical with Bayern yet.
Right. Yeah, that's right.
But it sounds like it's almost like too good to be true. It is truly an Edwards deal in terms of the amount we got for him.
Yeah, 75 million. Is it pounds or euros? Does it matter? I don't know.
I'm sure
That's
it matters,
a lot for yeah, it's a lot for a 28-year-old. You know, like a lot. There's some chatter of like, there is some chatter of like why you would sell this player, right? I've seen it online, and it's like the bottom line is this is a player who's been underpaid for the duration of his career. He's got one more crack at a big contract. Like, I think you guys said it a pod ago. Liverpool doesn't buy cars. They don't invest in depreciating assets unless that asset happens to be elite in that category. And so I think, basically that contract was going to happen for him. It just wasn't going to be Liverpool to give it to him. So the fact that we turned around and got 75 million for him is pretty incredible.
I think what's incredible is, in some ways, the head was already turned, Gally, and the writing was on the wall. It was going to be happening. And I know Bayern has been kind of like the Newcastle of Europe this summer transfer window, where everybody they went after, they had not been able to get him and stuff, including Beards, who we ended up signing, who we all assumed, including us, that he will be going to Bayern and stuff like that. So is this more about Bayern being desperate to seal a deal? Is this just like Edwards being Edwards? Or, I mean, is he worth that money, do you think? If we signed a guy like Diaz, which we would not because of the age, but if we signed a guy like that with that price tag, what would you think as a Liverpool fan?
If we signed a 28-year-old winger for 70 million, I would not be starting with a smile tonight.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. Yeah.
That said, the Bundesliga is a different league than this, and that's a club who is like built around old, talented, crafty wingers between Ribery and Robin and like these guys that they've had over the last few years. Like, they go sign other players. I hope it really works out for him. I'm really happy for him. I'm really happy for Liverpool because I think they kind of got a steal. The only thing I'll say is we always do this, and I do it all the time too, in comments, in text, in Discord. Like, we give Edwards all this credit, and Richard Hughes is actually doing all the business. And we just constantly talk about Edwards. And I agree with Paul. Like, I'm the same way. I think of it the same way. But Richard Hughes has been here for like just over 20 months. and he's sold $235 million worth of players Jurgen Klopp wouldn't have sold. Like, you just would have let them run out their contracts and hugged them until the end. So, like, I think there's something to be said. This shows the clubs. I feel like this speaks to the ruthlessness of this window. And it also speaks to what they did last summer. Last summer, they were like, we're just going to hang. And then this summer, they were like, we're going to be tactical. We're going to be quick, yet we're going to be slow. Like, we're going to work this market right. And I think they are playing. If this were a poker game, Liverpool feels like they have like 4 aces and 2 trump cards, because they seem to be playing everyone from the selling to the buying to everything they're doing at their pace and their speed, which I think is really, it shows that they had direction. And I think that's the most important thing. Like, they are on it with this transfer window. And I think they've known that from the beginning.
That's an interesting one with the Hughes Edwards thing, because I going back to that there, because I feel like, yeah, it's going to be one of those situations where we had with, people like Zia and everybody like that, like where everything good is Klopp, everything bad is Linder's kind of like an ordeal, where I feel like anything good is going to be going towards Edwards. But I think that's kind of because he kind of sets that tone. And I think that's like the blueprints, and Hughes is following the blueprint. I think if Hughes went to Edwards and said, hey, I found this winger, he's 28, thinking of getting him for like 80 million, he would not be there for long anyway. He's like, did you read the book? Like, so I think he would be kicked out of the office anyway. So I think he's just following the blueprint set by Edwards. I think that's you're right, by default, we always go to Edwards because this is from his playbook. So Hughes is just calling his plays.
And it's not a knock. It wasn't supposed to be like anything like I'm saying back. I just feel bad because it's kind of that thing where you're like, it was almost even like that window where we brought in all the midfielders and everyone was like, oh, Schmaka did this with, they had this Aiden Ward guy. And it's like Aiden Ward actually helped like do all the backdrop on all these players we went out and signed. And they deposited a release clause on Soboslai and a release clause on Maka, or we might not get either of them. They got Gravenberch kind of on the free at the end of a window for a cheap bargain. And then they called up Stuttgart and they were like, hey, tell that Japan guy he has an hour and a half to decide if he wants to come to Liverpool. And he was like, yes. Like, it wasn't the hardest of windows they ever matriculated, right? So I think sometimes we think like the playbook. I think what Edwards is doing though right now, by actually negotiating these deals quickly and more importantly negotiating on our terms, is really, really impressive business. From getting Frimpong signed early to winning the Verts race, and I know Slot played a big part of that, to getting involved with the Ekitike thing, being connected, but then making the move at the end. Like, I genuinely believe that Hughes is doing a lot of the day-to-day business that a sporting director would do, because that's his job, and this is a well-run club. So I just think that we're looking at this as it's all Edwards. And I think Edwards is still more about the business than he is the day-to-day actions. But let's not kid ourselves. The playbook was there, and he understands.
The playbook, the parameters are there, so it really narrows down. It's almost like, he has the search engine, but a bunch of the filters have already been checked off by Edwards there before even Hughes gets to take a look at it. It's like, this is what you're looking at, kind of a deal. And I think that's what he should still get credits. Like you said, it's not like he should not get credits, but Bickler is back from an undisclosed location. So let me ask you this, Bickler. I mean, the timing thing I think is important in terms of how fast, because Gally was talking about, the fact that not only we've done these deals, but we've done them relatively fast. I mean, I know by the time we knew, for the most part, the initial trio was going to be signed, and by the time they signed, it took a long time and everything. But in terms of the negotiation aspect, it's done fast. I feel like with all the Isak thing brewing, as well as all the other, potential transfers, getting this money fast for Diaz was pretty darn important.
Yeah, as my camera just completely goes
Dude,
crazy.
we get to see the famous pots in the background.
Yeah.
Special behind the scenes footage.
You want to see? Here's a really good behind the scenes footage. All right, so hold on. Let me see if I can get this for our listening audience. Also, you can see the squalor. Hold on.
I was gonna say our listening audience is not gonna be able to see that, but I hear you.
Okay, you can't see it now. This cabinet right here fell off the hinges because my landlord, instead of actually installing things, likes to just paint over screws to hold it in. Like if the paint dries, it holds it in without thinking that there's going to be like, myself or a 6-year-old kid scaling that cabinet in the middle of the night just to pull snacks down. So anyway, yeah, I digress. I don't even remember what the original question is. Today is like been a shit show and this is bleeding over into the spot and I'm sorry.
Solo is in the house. What's going on, man? Welcome aboard over here. No, the question was getting the money, not only the amount of money, but getting that sum as fast as possible from Diaz is pretty important in terms of continuing business and sealing the other deals. Because as much as I know, like, oh, we can spend it, the budget is there and stuff like that, you gotta still have the outgoings to kind of balance some of it.
Yeah, for sure. I think, I think a lot of times, like, I think we've had time to plan for this one, right? This wasn't unexpected. Like, I think that we talked about Diaz leaving last summer, and I think that there was enough to that. Like, I think that was a real possibility on the table last summer. So I think that this has been a year or so in the making, and I think that they were ready. And I think that part of the deal with Bayern was that, like, hey, if you want this player, it's gonna be upfront. This isn't gonna be an installment deal. Just based on this window and where we're at. And I think Bayern were in a position where they needed the player bad enough they were able to do it.
Yeah, I'm actually more shocked at Bayern being willing to. I mean, it kind of goes back to our Isak scenario there, Gally. I mean, we talked about, Newcastle being able to take it slow. I felt like, we could have. Is that why, like, Bayern went in this high for the player? Is it lack of other options? Because your other option was Rodrigo. And I know he's a lot younger, but obviously he's a lot more expensive as well.
Yeah, they weren't signing Rodrigo. Like, I know last week I was all about Rodrigo getting signed for Liverpool instead of Isak, and in classic fashion, a day later, Isak announced he wasn't going on the trip, and it looked like he was coming to Liverpool. So in classic fashion, Gally sounds like an idiot on Wednesday when the short comes out, talking about how you'd be better off signing Rodrigo. The Rodrigo news is that he wants 350 to 400,000 a week in wages, and his agent is demanding 20 million up front on top of what you pay the club. So I'll tell you this right now. Rodrigo's going to play for Real Madrid next year or somewhere in Saudi Arabia because nobody is paying that money for Rodrigo off of what they've seen. And I don't think it works. So I think that's when it made it clear that Bayern needed to make this move. I think the Musiala injury, losing out on Wirtz, and I think a lot of what Diaz does makes a lot of sense while you have Harry Kane in the middle and Michael Olise on the right-hand side. My fear is for Diaz, this will be like another Mane situation. And if it doesn't go good between early September and November, the German fans and the German media will absolutely destroy a foreign player, especially one from another continent, that they don't have any invested interest in. And I just hope it works out well. I hope he hits the ground running and he bangs in a bunch of assists to Kane and a couple goals for himself. But I won't lie, like, I feel like we fleeced them because I don't think he'll see out the whole time of his contract there. And maybe they know that too, because maybe they think in 2 years he'll take an even bigger payday in Saudi after getting the 15 million for them for 2 years, not the 4 they signed him to.
That's what I'm assuming too. I feel like they think there is some kind of a way to recoup some of the costs by, aiding the next step, because this is kind of like what Bayern does. They do get the aging wingers kind of like squeeze what they can get out of them and then move them on for like a little bit more and then, like get some money back for them. I mean, I honestly think at the end of the day, they did get an excellent player. I'm a big Diaz fan. I think he got way too much crap overall from Liverpool fans. And I've said this like a multiple times over the last month or so, but there were way too many games last year where we were in Discord chat talking about the game and we said, Diaz is the only one where the danger is coming from. His ability to play in the middle and stuff like that. And obviously there's Kane over there, but he's versatile at the same time. I think they signed a great player, but yeah, I do admit that I feel like we did kind of fleece him and they did overpay. But they are getting quality at the end of the day, Bickler. And I personally think he'll be very successful over there. Give me your forecast, Bickler, for Diaz in Germany.
Oh, it's going to be great. And I think he gets along with people, and I think he'll bet in, even though he wants to speak French in Germany. I think he's going to be fine. I don't think, I don't think he's going to go in and immediately get into a ruckus like our good friend Sadio Mane did.
I saw that on Instagram, and I thought it was kind of like sarcasm on his part, but I was like, probably not. So it was like really bad over there. Ibrahim is joining us, and it's morning over there. Good morning, sir. They don't have doner pizza in Germany, Jamie. Back off. Nobody has that except wherever the hell Cersei is shopping at, where they put doner and then sell it as a kebab pizza and stuff. Oh, don't get me started. Okay, let's get back to us over here, because this is gonna be like a triggering thing for me for a while. But dude, not only the fact that he freaking told me that, he does a screenshot of the pizzas available.
The picture that he actually brought home to his kids. That's the best part. He bought the pizza.
You guys know what we have to do on Friday night before this fundraiser now, right?
Yes, kebab pizza.
I am not going out to dinner with you guys. And then they put sucuk on a pizza. Nobody does that. And margarita pizza at a Turkish place. Oh God. Okay. Actually, yeah. Well, I already had you guys have Turkish food once. I'm not taking you guys to another Turkish place again. Mind you, we never got to have kebab, but God knows we didn't have doner pizza either. So let's get to Isak, because obviously all this money coming in enables.
Move on to the Swedish pizza.
Swedish pizza. Swedish meatballs on a pizza from an authentic Swedish restaurant.
Depends which IKEA you're in, man.
With some of that crappy jelly. I'm not a big fan.
I just thought about Sweden and my fingers started hurting from trying to fucking put together small screws.
I'm a huge IKEA fan, actually. Really? Not a big IKEA fan, or just not a fan of assembly?
I'm not a fan of assembling anything.
You know what's awesome is that we're all under 5'8" and still can't deal with the size Allen wrenches they give you in IKEA furniture.
Need some extra leverage.
Just so we're clear, I lie on my license. It says I'm 5'9".
Does it really?
Yeah, it's a bull-faced lie. I'm about 5'7.5". And
no, I know that part. I didn't know the license said 5'9".
Yeah, mine says 5'8". I'm definitely not. Like,
I don't lie as much as you guys do. I say 5'7", but I think I'm like 5'6.5" or something. Don't tell Angie though, because I'm taller than her. So, Swedish meatballs in IKEA is awesome, says Solo. Honestly, I don't mind Swedish meatballs, but everything else that goes with that stuff that they have over there is way overrated. But I am a big fan of IKEA furniture. Fun fact, IKEA has some stuff they literally had like 30 years ago still. Same SKU, same everything. And that's an amazing business plan right there. And you got to have a good product if you still have it 30 years later.
Yeah.
Are we going to get a good product in Isak over here and get him in as a striker, Bickler? The possibilities are right there. I think he said, the last I saw, Romano said 60%. But the lack of alternatives, do you see a scenario where, he kind of like puts the tail between the legs and goes back to Newcastle?
I don't. I mean, listen, if the player is turning down 700,000 pounds a week to go somewhere, and you're looking at footballing projects, like we just got arguably the best player in the world under 25 because of the project at Liverpool. And I think Goldberg made an interesting point where like he says that like the situation with Isak essentially shows you that if you're good enough, players still have the power. like in these negotiations.
Yeah.
And although that's true, you know what I think it really says? I think that footballing projects matter because, like, you know, if this is United, like, he's not leaving 700 on the table for United. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, he's leaving it because there's this prospect of coming to Liverpool and competing for trophies every year at a club that's the best in the world at doing footballing business. Like, this club from 2014 to 2024 is the most profitable club in football. Like, they're like, in the next closest one is 10 million behind us. And to put that into perspective, between the EPL and the championship, there are only 7 teams amongst those 60 that have netted a profit over that period. And we're at 132 plus million. So, like, I think as a player, that type of thing matters because it's a club that's going to continually reinvest and do it in a sustainable way.
Okay, then, since you said that, Bickler, hold on. I'm going to stay with you and ask you this. Do you think Isak says yes if we didn't make the moves prior? If, like, is that what he waited? Is that what kind of, like, made him change his mind? Because we said all along, hey, if Isak wants to, he'll force a move. That's the only way Newcastle will sell and stuff. And he was quiet, so we all kind of assumed that he's not as interested in stuff. So now we know he's interested. How much of that do you think is because Frimpong is here, Kirkus is here, Viers is here? We made the same move and the same approach a month and a half ago, right after the season. Would it still turn his head?
I think it certainly helps, right? I mean, let's be honest. That certainly helps. I don't think that's the deciding factor. I think the reason he didn't make noise is because he really wanted Newcastle to be in the position to do it themselves. In, like, any sort of negotiation, if you're not getting your way or it appears that a club is not going to let you do your move, you're going to start to make noise and you're going to start to agitate and you're going to make more noise the longer it continues. So I think we've just reached a point where he needed to rattle the cages and say, I don't want to be here. I'm not going to play with you guys. I'm going to lock myself out. I don't want to be a part of the starting 11 because I want to move. And I don't feel like I'm getting, you know, like, traction here. So, and I think, you know, Newcastle's response was like, all right, well, we'll sell you to ourselves. Like, and we'll sell you to Al Hilal, who is 75% owner of that club and is the exact same owner of Newcastle, which honestly, I don't even know how that's legal, but, like, it's essentially legalized money laundering. But, like,
pretty much,
you know, like, Newcastle, that was Newcastle's response. And he said, nah. Like, you know, I think it's just to the point now where he's got to agitate to make noise to get the move that he wants.
By the way, when you said I'm going to lock myself out, I was like, Bickler has teenagers when he says, I'm going to lock myself in my room, kind of a deal. But okay, let's flip to this, because Solo says, I've been consistent about Isak for a month now. Liverpool will require Isak services. Once a player refuses to train, it's over for him and Newcastle. I guess along the same lines, Gally, is it a combination? Because while we're getting all these people, I was calling Bayern the Newcastle of Europe. Newcastle is getting turned on. If Newcastle was able to secure a couple of those moves that they were after, do you think it changes Isak's mind, or he wanted to go somewhere else all along?
No, well, I think if they had done right by him the whole time, that's probably living up to the fact they told him last summer after they tried to sell him due to PSR issues to Chelsea and it fell through. Like, if they had decided to give him the extension that he thought he was getting this summer with a bigger contract and better payday, he might not be kicking up like this. Like, I do think missing out on all the targets played a huge part in his current mindset, because that's the last 2 or 3 months. But I actually think his biggest problem has been the fact that Newcastle has missed the mark. Like, the Saudi owners came in, they bought the club, they instituted PSR rules. It changed everything for them. They weren't able to inject funds the way they thought they were going to be able to. So the same club that told us they were going to buy Mo Salah and buy Dembele and get Mbappe and all this stuff, they can't secure Mbeumo from going to Man United. They can't stop Pedro and Delap from going to Chelsea. They might lose out on Sesko right now going to United. Like, they tried for Cunha. they have tried for players all summer. They overpaid for Alanga. They missed out on Trafford, who's now going back. They just signed Aaron Ramsdale. The guy's been relegated twice. I mean, they are a club who is in a really hard spot. And we can come back to this, but I think their biggest issue right now is what's happening on the management side of the club. We were talking about, like, is it Edwards or Hughes that deserves the credit? The problem right now is that Newcastle doesn't have a sporting director or a CEO of football. They don't have a single person in charge. Eddie Howe is trying to work with the Saudi Arabian owners, and it's
Good
not
luck
his
with
job.
that.
But he's supposed to manage the side. And he's a good manager, in my opinion. We've all had these arguments on this channel, but, like, they're being put in a spot where they have no leadership. And I think if Dan Ashworth was still there right now, whether he was a good director of football or not, I think he would have been able to get in ownership's ear and say, we have to take this money, and here's why. And then lay out a plan of what he would do over the next 2 or 3 years with that money and the PSR. Eddie Howe doesn't have the wherewithal to do that for guys who are never told no. And this is my biggest fear is, like, I won't be shocked if on September 1st he's told to go train with the under 21s or come back and play for Newcastle, because I think the guys running that club run it like a toy and also run it with ego. And when you let ego get in your way in sports, you lose always.
I think that's the thing
TG on
with,
Stanford.
that's one thing, like, with all the money they have, I think the difference, but they started out right? Like when they first came in, they had a ton of money. We thought they were going to, like, spend it all over the place. They did some really smart moves, brought in a lot of quality players, but then, yeah, they kind of, like, lost their way. I don't know if that success came in too easy and they thought they knew what they were doing and got rid of key people. I think, when you have a lot of money, it's all fine and dandy, but you still got to put the right people in the right situation to make the right decisions. I mean, that's, I guess, my biggest concern, Victor, with the Isak thing. It doesn't sound like there are a lot of different options for him or alternative destinations. But, I mean, first of all, Newcastle does not really have an incentive to push it at all. We were talking with Gally, I think, last Friday. I mean, they probably don't want him playing against Newcastle match day 2, so they're going to have to try to push it as long as possible. And does that put us in a difficult spot now? Because you don't want to wait for him till the last second and it doesn't happen. Now what?
I don't know that it does put us in a difficult spot, because I think, like, we have the luxury, and I think this is why, like, Ekiteke was so important, right? Is that like now you have a guy who can step in. Is he super young and raw? For sure, right? Like, unproven in this league, but you do have a guy that you can plug and play. And I think you have the added luxury of, like, going back in doubling back and trying to get Isak later if you don't get it this window. I think it's important you get him this window, because I think if you don't get him and his price drops down to 120, 100 or whatever, you've got 4 or 5 teams in the mix. You got them in a mix, you're in a bidding war, and that's not where you want to be, right? So I think the timing is crucial. I keep thinking, I think Gally is right. I think this is a more difficult negotiation than we think on the surface, just because of the owners involved. But I do think that there is a voice of reason somewhere down the line here that gets in somebody's ear and says, hey, like, you want to build this thing and you want to win in a sustainable manner over time at Newcastle. Is this how you want prospective players to view your club? Because I think the optics of it are really, really bad for Newcastle.
And that's what I was going to say. By the way, Solo says, love the stream, guys. A bunch of guys will say, appreciate it, sir, anytime.
We have no egos because we have no egos because we're nothing.
Yeah, there's
we've
enough,
been put in our place quite a few times.
There's enough failure in these 3 windows. To,
Exactly. There's no egos because we have a little pride, and that is what we have been given to us by the better.
And we will probably leave that in New York on the way back. So that will be gone 100%. As well. So that was my thing, though. Like, while they can drag this out, right? Like we were talking, Gally. At the same time, a club that is having a lot of difficulty securing contracts and getting people in, why would they, aside from, like, the spites and the powers that be, basically just not being, like you said, like, not being used to selling, being told no, it's not a good ordeal for them to do something like that with their star player when they're already having problems getting bodies in. So is it almost like in their favor to kind of make this go smoother so that you can, then go sign the replacements right away?
It's what they should do. Now, they claim they don't need to sell to buy, so they can spend. They were trying to spend big on Ekatike. They
But
think
in
they
terms
can
of
spend big
luring
on.
them, not money-wise, but
No,
convincing the
but
player.
I guess where I was coming to the point is I think their plan is to sell Isak on the 30th or the 31st of August and get the money they need in, but buy the replacements ahead of time. The problem is they're 0 for 6 so far on the replacements. Like, everyone they've went for has turned them down. And this is the problem. They thought because they had money and a big stadium, and at one point they were a really big club, they could still draw. But here's the thing. Living in Bournemouth and Brighton is better. Like, living in the
Right.
beach. No, but living on the beach and maybe competing for Europe. I don't think there's any guarantee that Newcastle has a side next year. Right now, it doesn't look like it. That's going to be able to compete to make it back into the Champions League again. Like, do you see a team right now with one? Right now, their striker with Isak on the beach, literally,
Yeah.
is that Osula kid who was relegated with Sheffield United as their third striker. Like, they don't have an attacking mindset. They have a depreciating asset in Gordon, who has kind of like had a little bit of the bloom off his rose come off. You have young players like Alanga. They haven't been able to sign a single player that actually added to their first team, first starting best 11. And they lost the best player at the club who no longer wants to play them. Like, I think they're in a real tough spot. So I don't think anything they've done this summer has helped them. I think they actually misplayed everything from the Ekatike deal to what they did with Isak. Like, I think there was a world where they could have called Liverpool and said, we want Ekatike. Let us sign him, and we will sell you Isak for 120 million. Do you want him?
Yep.
They would have refilled their coffers. They would have bought 3 more players, and things would have went forward with them having a future. Instead, they're going to end up with Dominic Calvert-Lewin. You watch as their number 9 on the opening day of the season, and that will be out freaking standing.
That would be hilarious, actually. I mean, the thing is, I think, we were
I'm
talking
not
about it this
kidding.
morning. They really played that Ekitike thing really bad. And I think, when we were talking about earlier about Hughes, Edwards, whoever you want to give the credit to, I think they played that to perfection. By going and getting Ekitike just leaves Newcastle out in the middle. I think Newcastle was trying to be too smart, and it kind of like blew up in their face. And you got to give credit to the powers that be, Bickler, because now it puts you in this current situation by playing those cards right at that time.
Yeah, I mean, so we talked about this. We were like, what we loved about it when we were talking about this in the Discord channel was like, it's pretty clear that we weren't Richard Hughes and company wasn't going to allow Newcastle to dictate the terms in which we got Isak, right? Which essentially was like, you're not going to get your number 1 transfer on the books. You're not going to get your number 1 transfer and then hold us over the barrel essentially for Isak. That just wasn't a situation that we were going to be put in. So it was brilliant business from us. I think a lot of people were like, oh, we're bullying Newcastle. And like, to me, it was like, no, not necessarily like not bullying Newcastle. We're just going to make sure that it was on fair terms and not like put us in the position where we were held over a barrel for ransom, essentially. Right. So that's the way I see that. What I love about this is that if you get both players, I think both of them together on a team are almost stronger than they are independently. And I'll tell you why, because I think when you get the youngster out of Germany, I think the issue here is relatively young, a little bit unproven. He has knocks on his efficiency where he seems to be a volume striker that just needs to be a little bit more clinical and have more, be more clinical in front of goal. Right. And I think the one thing is if you bring him in and you tell him, we're not relying on you for goals, just do what you're good at, get in the right places, have chance creation go through you, right? Do those things and you're going to be fine. But the other thing about Isak is we have serious question marks about, we know that he's the best available striker on the market right now. I think the question is, can he be an every week striker for you? Like, does he have the durability to do that? To be an every week striker, to play twice a week if you need him? And I think the jury is very much out on that. I'm on the no camp, which is why I love them both together, because now you have a young understudy who can do this, isn't relied upon to play every match. And you're not asking Isak to do that either.
Yeah,
you have the flexibility to if you want to play him off the striker, you can play him both if you're chasing a match. So it's almost like getting them both is almost perfect.
I think, Solo was saying, I think the problem with Newcastle was they probably played this a lot smarter, and their issue was, obviously we saw them beat us in the League Cup and stuff, and I think that's a really good squad. I mean, we talked a few times about like they might have one of the best midfields in the league and stuff, but they had the best, most efficient striker in Isak, and instead of kind of like making that team probably a bit more deeper in talents, now they're really kind of like screwing themselves, and that's partially because everybody has turned them down. But that's Newcastle; they can do whatever the heck they want. Let's get to whatever the heck we're gonna do. I mean, hey, Nunez is available. We can send them over there. I guess that's kind of like my issue with waiting till the very end. When I say it puts us in a tough spot, Gally, is if you do not say, because you have to take care of the other business accordingly. I think having an Ekitike at least says, okay, we do have a center forward, because really did not have one aside from Nunez. But initially, I'll be honest, when Ekitike came through, I did not think Isak was happening. And I felt like, if anything, I can see Nunez staying. I think we talked about it last week or 2 weeks ago. If they don't get the right offer, he might end up staying. What do you see for a scenario for Nunez now? Unless, he does agree to go to the Saudi, there's not a huge market for him. Is there a scenario where he stays as the backup of like Gakpo and Ekitike and Isak at the same time and hovers around there? Because I'm horrified at the thought, but
yeah, I mean, I know what it does to you. It's almost as bad as that Greek guy allowed to be with the Liverpool zip code sometime in September. Like, if that Greek guy hasn't moved out of his apartment, you will be as angry as done around pizza.
You know what is bad? It's as bad as putting freaking Euro meat on a pizza and trying to sell it as fucking Turkish pizza.
Isn't having like a big personality, like low performing left back, sort of like just a requirement at Liverpool now that Albert Moreno just passed that torch right on over to Tsimikas? Like, whereas Instagram is mostly video games and their dog. Like, I mean, I feel like that's just part of the thing now.
Like, but are you funny? Like, yeah, you can cross, but are you funny?
Yeah. I don't believe Nunez will still be here at the end of the window. I'm gonna be like the conspiracy theorist of conspiracy theorists. This is where Cersei can do is like, this thing to the screen. I
just
actually
a Freemason banner in the back.
No, I'm dead serious. I think that Nunez is gonna end up going to the Saudi League for like 70, 80 million. And I think the reasoning is it's going to allow Liverpool to pay like 160 to 170 for Isak. And they actually inflate the PSR numbers. So we do the money laundering for them, to Paul's point. Like, it sounds stupid, right? But I don't know that it's that far off of like realistic. Like, let's not kid ourselves. Part of the Verts deal was they already knew the price it would be for Kwanzaa. We just told them you have to wait 15 days to announce this. Like, we agree to this. The kid's going to go. Everybody's happy. But like, you're going to get more money and we're going to do better on our side. I think it's a similar situation here. I could see us getting a little extra cash and throwing it right back over to Newcastle to help them to make sure we get what we want, which is you don't ever have to see Darwin wear a Liverpool shirt again, and Isak gets number 9 when he shows up.
I mean, not that I like that scenario, but I think that's very feasible because it is exactly what, as you were saying it, I was like, kind of like what happened with Kwanzaa kind of a deal. But I still don't think that would be the amount. What is the reasonable amount, Pickler? What is a reasonable amount? Because, the word is Liverpool is going to throw in a bid. Obviously, it's a negotiation thing, so you're probably going to start low or whatever. But what is a fair amount, do you think, if we sign Isak, you're going to be like, that sounds about right? And not like Bayern fans are saying about
I mean-
Diaz signing now.
Oh,
I think I guess I think this sounds insane, man. I think like 160 is probably right around where you need to land. It sounds like it feels gross saying it, but like I think it's probably where you got to land with that.
I mean, yeah, Drunk Vigo says if we're going to launder the money for them, then the Saudis better give 100 million. I mean, that's the only way I can see 160. I was at 120, 130, because anything over 150 does really sound out of whack, doesn't it, Gally? I mean, I feel like 120, 130, and then we'll give you Nunes for 60. There we go. Done.
it sounds out of whack, but I'd argue that this version of Isak is better than the version of Neymar that left Barcelona. Even though he was a bigger name and a bigger star at the time. This one's a better talent.
But isn't that what destroyed the transfer market?
Listen,
No, I think it is, but that kind of comes back.
I think this is all relevant. Like, because I think it's all like, I think the commercial revenue and the TV revenue payouts have made it so that these prices are just ridiculous compared to what we've typically seen, right? When you're talking Liverpool having a 54% increase over the last 5 years in commercial revenue, and their commercial revenue stream is now north of 350 million a season. Like, that's just different money than we're used to seeing in this game.
That's fair. But I mean, do you guys think, like, Gally, the fact that Ekitike is there, does it make it a bit more likely that, you know, Liverpool says 150? I don't think so. That's a little out there and walk away. Whereas if Ekitike was not there, like I say, if Newcastle played it right and was able to seal Ekitike, now we are probably on the hook for like, so how much is this going to be? Because we don't have a center forward. But since Ekitike is there, doesn't it enable like Liverpool to be like, no thanks? Because they don't have an option. Nobody else is going to come in and be like, we'll give 160.
They won't this summer. But if this player is at Arsenal next year or at Chelsea next year, or for some reason Real Madrid moves for Holland and then City sign him, like, I think this is the window Liverpool would allocate this quantity of cash towards a player of this age and this skill set. And if it goes a year longer than now, I think you invite other teams in, especially if he like sits out. Like, you know,
I was going to say, what is the scenario? You think he goes back and plays for Newcastle, though, or is he just like hanging out in the side field shooting and shit?
We all remember Coutinho showing up on an American tour and having an amazingly bad back injury, which 11 days later he was able to start a match for Liverpool. And then, to be fair to Coutinho, he might have gave us the best 4 months he ever gave us at the club. Between that September and that January, and on January 1st, he was sold to Barcelona, pretty much, because we knew he was going. And I'm not saying Isak will. I am going to say it. If Isak is still a Newcastle player on September 5th, right, on Labor Day this year, if he's still at Newcastle, he will decide by September 11th he's ready to play for Newcastle again. He'll do it for 3 months, and then he'll become a player of another club in January. My fear is between now and then, Holland could blow out his knee and City could come up with 200 million and he could be their striker. So I think you go get the guy you want, you get him now. And I think this club's planning for 2027. The buying of Ekitike and Isak is about a 6-year plan, not a 6-month or a 1-year or a 2-year plan. I think it's post-Mo. This is us pushing all the money in.
Yeah.
And then everyone's going to be mad and start doing the FSG out chance again in 2 years when they sign nobody and probably win another league.
But can you imagine if the ghost of, like, let's just say we get Isak. Can you imagine if the ghost of Christmas past like visited us this year prior to the summer and said, hey, you guys are going to sign Florian Wirtz and he won't even be your most expensive transfer in. Like, I think most of us would just pass out.
If that ghost visited me and told me I was getting Kirkhez and Frimpong, I would have told him, you're a fucking liar. And who the hell are you trying to fucking tease me in the middle of the night, you prick? Like,
that's a dream you don't even take seriously. Like,
take your chains and get the hell out of here. You tell me Florian Wirtz, I'm telling you, like, you might as well have brought fucking.
Isn't
like
that
Jackie
really
Ireland
risky
from
though
fucking
for
92.
Newcastle, man? Like, I don't know if I'm Newcastle. I'm gonna roll the dice. You know, we've talked about Isak and possible injury history and stuff like that. Not to mention, I mean, will you get the same output again from a guy who's clearly not practicing and stuff like that? I just don't know if it's worth the risk, because that could really blow up. And it's a team that's already having a bunch of plans blow up in their face. I don't know if they roll the dice with that again. But Drunk Vigo says, I don't know how drunk, but Liverpool, it will be announced this Friday. So we normally finish with predictions. So Bickler, this time next Monday, does Liverpool have any new players?
I don't know, but I think if we're gonna put Drunk Vigo's comments up there, we at least need to do the right thing and slur them when we say them. I think this Friday. I don't know. I think it's definitely possible. I tend to think that the Isak thing is going to drag on a little bit. Of all the talk that we've talked about, I think the thing that I'm most I don't want to say concerned, but like a little bit anxious about is the center back situation. Like I feel like we've got to get one in. Like I think we need two. So like that's the one that I want to see movement on. Not saying that I don't want to see Isak. I think that's just the one in the back of my mind where I look at, you know, a Verge who's pushing, what is he, 36 now? And a Kanate who's got,
isn't he?
Is he 34? I thought he was.
I think he's going to be
Am I way
36
off?
when the contract
He
is up.
will
I
be
think that's where you get into
36 when
36
it's up,
from.
yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So anyway, definitely not young. Kanate with like durability issues, like Gomez, you know, hot and cold has not looked great. Like I think that's the one that I worry the most about. I would love to see transfer this Friday. I don't know that we'll see it.
This is a good point, actually, launch of the new kits. Because you would think
We're not Manchester United. We don't have to sign players on the day we launch new kits to try to sell them. We haven't even shown off the new kit yet. Like we got Florian Wirtz wearing 58 because we didn't want him to be fucking visualized in a kit with the number that he's on in a Nike one. Like,
well, now he has like freaking like 7 coming up the moment the Adidas kits
you know it's
probably
coming. Like
comes in. Yeah,
that
the
thing is going to
moment
be the
the
number
Adidas
one
kits come
signing.
in. Yeah, it will. I don't know. Like it will be interesting in terms of like what they do with the center back thing too. Like Gay would be a good step. I think if Gay is in there, I do agree. 2 would not hurt if you. I know there's a lot of talk about that Cresswell kid and stuff like that, but
That would be a nice.
that would be like a nice
one.
future at the same time kind of a deal. But I think if Gay is in the door, I'm not worried as much. But Gally,
I think Gahey Cresswell is kind of like Isak Ekiteke though. Like I mean, good. I think it's kind of the same thing, like in a way.
Yeah,
I would love that.
It's now and later. Like it helps you now, and it really is the plan for later. Yeah. I think Gahey is here by next Monday. I don't think Isak is. To answer your question, you haven't asked me yet.
Yeah, I was about to. Good job.
Fastest answer Gally's ever had on a podcast.
Definitely, and it's not in the trivia, that's for sure. But before we go, I do want to cover this again and really, really ask for your guys' help because you can really help us with the 24-hour podathon. Are you guys cramming, getting ready for this? It's like 10 days away. We're going to be up for like 24 hours straight on air. Are you ready?
Yeah. What is the biggest thing that you all learned from last year's 24 hours? I'll tell you what it was for me. It was go over the questions that we ask ourselves every year when we do our predictions. Go over that before you're like 22 hours
Write
in
them down.
And you're not even sure where you like legitimately are sitting anymore. Like that's what I'm going to do this year.
I know Gally's answer, but go ahead, Gally.
Pillow, motherfucker, pillow. I'm not even kidding. The other day, I'm not even kidding. The other day, I literally felt my leg tense up, and I like did like a little like under my thigh muscle rub, and Kelly was like, "You're prepared for sciatica already," and I was like, "Oh man, that's like the meanest way to say yes." Like yes, I'm absolutely worried mostly about that because 1, I've seen the chairs, 2, the tables, and 3, in person is a lot harder because it was easier to get up and walk around your own house, like grab a cup of coffee. Like I kept myself going at times.
Yeah.
So my biggest thing, like, is the long running like how long the night is. Like it is a long 24 hours is a long time, people, in case you've ever not tried to stay up.
This is where Galley's going to act like it's harder for him to get up and walk outside in public than it is in his house, when in reality, he's going to be surrounded by 3 separate bars. I don't think he's going to have any sort of an issue having
keeping
motivation to
Galley
get up
under control is going to be the challenge over there more than anything. Yeah,
I'm going to be drinking them Guinness Zeros.
Yeah, well, those would be good, dude. For real.
Yeah,
they taste good.
They taste good. They got no booze. Serve us that stuff anyway. When we order beer, just bring us that stuff instead. I know. I honestly thought 24 hours would not be as bad because, like I say, I'm normally up to like 2. So I was like, what's another like 6-8 hours kind of a thing. But I'll admit, like around 3 or 4 o'clock, when I was getting semi dizzy, I was like, maybe this was not the best idea. But then you had like a second run. Usually what happens around like 3, 4, 5 o'clock, another cup of coffee. There was a lot of coffee and tea drinking going on. So there'll be more of that. He better leave us a pot when they lock us in at Carragher's.
Yeah, I did think about that. I was like,
jug next to us of just
we need one of them. We need one of them big like catering crafts where you just walk up and you do the little black little edge thing. And
they're gonna Carragher's is gonna come in.
How much it's gonna burn you. When it comes out,
come in
like 800 degrees.
They're going to come in when the cleaning crew exits at like 8 a.m. And there's just going to be like, we will have started a fire with old chairs just to keep the coffee warm. Like
we were desperate and bored, but here's where you can help. We still have 12 hours that need to be sponsored with like 10 days to go. So anywhere from $100 to $500. Whether it's like personal, group, business, supporters group, official supporters club, whatever it is, we do still have 12 hours up for grabs over there. Like I say, $100 to $500 based on your budget and what you can afford, how big your group is, whatever it might be. But please do get your local groups involved. A couple of messages. I know we've done some mass messaging and stuff, and we do have some supporter clubs like Austin, Edmonton, Jersey Shore, and Wilmington, obviously, will like, but I mean, if Wilmington is in, it's because Jamie kind of had passed on the message and got them involved and stuff like that. And Brian and those guys like hopped on the concept right away. So that's kind of like what we need for you guys to get involved and let your supporter club know, hey, can you believe these idiots are going to be up for 24 hours? We should sponsor an hour of this comedy kind of a deal. But a lot happening. Like I say, the auction will be starting tomorrow, the silent auction, the GoFundMe as well. So all those are coming out. I did post a link for the shirts this morning where you can buy the shirts. All the profits go to our fundraiser as well. And it enables you to actually like donate extra as you're getting it if you wish. And more importantly, you can get us 3 bozos sign that shirt at the same time for $15, or you can pay us $25 and we won't even touch it. It will be like a no touch delivery kind of a concept. So whatever floats your boat, but please do get involved, help us out as we try to beat $5,000 is what we did last year. So the goal is to definitely to crush that number. I mean, doubling it would be great, but definitely want to beat 5,000. Do want to be less than last year, and I think we will be. I really am very confident that we will be. But spread the word, help us out, and then hopefully this time next week we'll be getting really ready. 5 days to go, and hopefully we'll have most of the sponsors locked in by then. The game is on Wednesday. We will have a live watch along over here, believe it or not, if my alarm works, because it is it is 5:30 Central. So we might be, I will be definitely up and about and do the live watch along over there. So if you do want to join us, do join us. We'll talk about the game. Anything special you guys will be looking for aside from Endo, hopefully playing Galley, that you didn't look for in the Milan game, for example?
It'll be interesting to see if Maka gets even like a short run out, because he's just gotten back into group training, and it'll be interesting to see. I'm kind of intrigued to see what Soboslai does, because I feel like he's been one of the best players every minute he's played so far this spring or this preseason. Yet he hasn't once played in a position that he was supposed to play, and he's played right back. He's played the 6, he played the 8, a few minutes at the 10. I think Soboslai is going to be like one of the biggest stories of this entire season and how he's used. And I think he's probably going to be used in so many ways. He'll be frustrated about it, but he'll still be very happy because he's going to play a huge role in our success. But I'm looking at Soboslai in this one, and of course, I don't care until you change the story. I want to look at a 16-year-old kid making grown-ass men look like older men, and Rio is kind of fun. So those are the things I'll be looking at: Sobo and Rio.
Soboslai, a young Hungarian Milner, if you will. How about you, Bickler?
I'm looking forward to watching Isak watch this game through the fence, like that one guy in the transfer deadline day who like drove to the team that he wanted to go to.
Otamendi or whatever. Remember, the best part is he didn't like drive to some great club. He drove to Stoke.
Yes. Hey,
he
man,
left
where
QPR
there's a will, there's
to
a
go
way.
to Stoke.
The camera pans, you just see Isak like look at his hands on the fence, like look.
I'm actually, speaking of Isak, I am actually interested to see if we see Ekitike out there and how long we see him out there. Because I think he will get a run out there, but I don't know if it'll be like the 10-15 minute variety. Like, while you're here, why don't you play kind of a deal, or we'll get to see him. I know it depends on the shape he's in and stuff. I think Jamie was talking about it earlier in the comments about like some of the practice footage as I'm like scoring goals left and right. But yeah, it's interesting. This off season, like I said, gives us a lot of like weird things to look at compared to the preseasons of the past. But that's it for us today. Like I say, I'll be back Wednesday morning in the crack of dawn watching the game. So do join then. Until then, have an awesome week, everybody. Don't forget about the fundraiser. Help us out, and we'll see you guys soon. Take care.